think we're recording now. Alright, so this chapter is the Ned Fever Dream chapter, as it's so often referred to as. I think it's like Ned 10, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Arik. This is Lillian on the line. Say hi, Lillian.
Hello.
Alright, so the way we break these down, we go through the chapters that we pick and we try to focus it on 8 different kind of formats. We do the main character, the chapter focus, what happened in the chapter, who held the biggest influence on that character and why, knowing how the future plays out, what should that character have done to avoid the result that we have, how the actions in the chapter affect the other plots, and then we go into a little bit of the best lines, standout appearances from other characters, and then last of all, any theories that apply. And this chapter is kind of big on theories, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Alright, so the first thing, who is the main character in this chapter? Now the reason we go through and we actually talk about this is because not every POV is the main character of a chapter. For example, the Tyrion trial where Bronn fights Ser Vardis. I think it's a cat lynch POV, is that right?
It's the next cat chapter, yes.
Yeah, so it is a cat POV, but she's not really the main character in that chapter. So that's why we kind of differentiate and talk about that for a second. Now for this one, Ned is the main focus of the chapter. He has that dream in the beginning, the Tower Joy dream. We'll get onto that a little bit later. And then he wakes up, he remembers that Jory's dead, and everything is kind of tense out there in King's Landing. And Robert's wanting to talk to him, and Ned's still really messed up from his little scuffle with Jaime out there in the streets. And he hasn't talked to Robert yet. So in this chapter, Robert comes to him, Cersei right behind him, and they pretty much just do a lot of yelling and screaming at each other. Ned's all up in arms about what happened, and Cersei's bringing up the taking of Tyrion and fighting Jaime and all this other stuff. And Robert just doesn't want to have anything to do with anything. He's telling everybody to stop it. Doesn't matter what happened. Everybody's just gonna not cause any more trouble because that's just kind of how Robert is at this point. He just doesn't want to do anything. Lillian, what do you got to say on all that?
I think that you should have included the fact that Robert bitch slaps Cersei and regrets it, and I find a very hard time believing that that's the first time he's ever hit her. Because he goes on to say that. Well, it implies that anyways, because he gets so upset over it and says it wasn't very kingly. I shouldn't have done that. But okay, so we're skipping ahead on points with what I'm saying here, but looking at her feast chapters and how he used to blame being drunk for hurting her. Sorry, I'm doing quotation marks with my hands. Hurting her, whenever they would have sex and he wouldn't remember the next morning. So I don't think it's the first time he's hit her. Maybe it's just the first time he's hit her in front of somebody. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I never got that impression that he hadn't before. Cersei kind of flies loose at the mouth to him. She's a prideful person to begin with. So, I wouldn't be too surprised if Robert's slapped her before. Not that we're condoning any of that. Alright, so, who held the biggest influence over our main character, Ned? And I think this is undoubtedly Robert Baratheon. It almost starts off differently, though, because Ned wakes up and they're telling him to go see Robert, and Ned is telling them, no, send him to me and all this other stuff. So, from that perspective, you almost, get an idea that maybe Ned's going to have control of this conversation. And then Robert walks in the room, all that goes away.
Yeah, I didn't really think of it that way, because I've kind of broken up the chapter into kind of two different focuses, one being the dream and the second being the conversation with Robert. So if you look at it from that standpoint, the dream obviously is influenced heavily by Ned's fevered state, So he's crazy and imagining things, whatever. And with him having Robert come to him, surprised Robert even did it, actually.
Yeah, that's true. But once Robert walks in the room, like, Robert's already a big dude, so, like, even with the physical imposing status, I think he just walks in, like, with this commanding presence that he's got. He's yelling at Cersei, he's telling her to shut up. He's not really threatening Ned, but he's talking to him in a way that's like, I'm not going to put up with this. I don't care what you have to say, kind of sort of thing. I said he has control over Ned's actions because Ned brings up Jaime, Tyrion. Oh, hold on, those are two different points. So he has control over what Ned does in response to all these things that Ned has to talk about. He also shuts down Cersei whenever she tries to talk, and I'll get back to that quote a little bit later. And then towards the end, too, Ned even thinks to himself, like, it's like I don't even have a say in this. Whenever he throws the handshake back at him.
Yeah.
So, and he's questioning to himself, like, why is he even hand if Robert's not even going to listen to his advice? So already, like, well, I guess not already, but it's been, like, a growing feeling in Ned that no matter if he's being a, quote, good hand or not, Robert's going to do whatever he wants to do.
Well, I feel like Ned knew that, too, taking the position, you know, from the beginning. He knew what Robert had become ever since the rebellion. You know, Jon basically ran the kingdom while Robert did whatever he wanted to, so I can't expect that he was thinking it was really going to be a partnership coming to King's Landing.
I don't really know what Ned expected. I guess he thought maybe... Well, no, because Rob was he was a bit of a crazy person back when he was younger anyway, right?
Yeah, he was pretty wild, and basically he did what he wanted to do. He already had Maya, and I get confused. Is Edric older? Because sometimes I think he's really young.
No.
Is he the first bastard?
No, I think Maya... Well, Maya's the first that we know about, because wasn't Edric conceived at Stannis' wedding?
That's right, it's Stannis' wedding. For some reason I was thinking like it was an event before... No, you're right, it was Stannis' wedding bed. That's why it was such a big deal.
Yeah. And then that chicken...
Okay, never mind then.
While we're off topic already about Robert's bastard,
yeah.
it was Maya, then the chick in the Bell.
The Bell?
Yeah. What was Pennytree?
Wasn't her Bella?
Pool? No, that's not Maidenpool. I forget her name, because that was all the way back in like what, Clash or Storm. But anyway, I think she was at least second that we know about, right? And then it was Edric.
No, we know about Edric before her.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, as far as, like, in order of age.
Oh.
Yeah, so the girl in Stony Sept, that's what it is.
Yeah, Stony Sept, Battle of Stony Sept was with the Bells. So, yeah, so then Maya, and then her, and then possibly Edric, and who knows what else. Okay, what are we talking about?
Do we know where Gendry falls in the line?
No. Do we really want to do timeline math right now?
No, I'm just wondering, because, like, that's easy. Like, Maya's older than Edric. Stony Sept girl was during the rebellion, so she's older than Edric. I was just wondering if we knew anything about where Gendry was in that moment. Anyway, so I guess we can move on, because we don't know anything like that.
Yeah.
I kind of have some, we're going to jump to, if this is okay, from 3 to 5, because Robert has a big influence, even though they're not here in this chapter, over Jaime, Tyrion, and Dany as well. And, like, his actions here affect their plots. So we'll get back to knowing how the future plays out, like what they should have done different. But jump into how the things in this chapter affect the other plots. Robert goes, as king, like, he commands them to release Tyrion, which would have had an effect had, you know, the war gone by and Tyrion not, you know, fought for his freedom in the next chapter or so.
Yeah.
Ned brings up the assassins going after Dany, and Robert just says, shut the fuck up, I'm not going to hear about that anymore. So that's a direct influence on Dany's plot, and then he commands them to make good with Jaime, and don't know if Robert was serious about this, but he's like, if you refuse it again, I'm gonna give it to Jamie. I don't know how serious he was at that, especially if Tywin was still available. Like, why would you? Jamie was a Kingsguard. He can't really do that, right? He Kingsguard? No, because Kristen Cole was hand, right?
Yes, Kristen Cole was the hand, and Jamie has already been named Warden of the East.
Yeah, I don't think that can happen either. Yeah, Warden of the East, because he was all like, that's the John Aaron's thing. It should be Robert.
Nope.
Aaron's about it.
Robert just says fuck the rules and does what he wants to do, basically.
I guess. I was chalking it up to author Aaron not having this whole thing fleshed out, that maybe it was just Robert being stupid, like, I'll just give it to Jamie. And then Ned's stupid too, because he's like, what? That's crazy. You can't do that. I don't know. But,
It could be either.
Ned isn't the smartest kind of guy, so...
I have that written down for one point.
But, also as far as, like, how does this action, or the action of this chapter affect the other plots, this is where Robert decides he's gonna go hunting. And so then he goes off and dies because of, like, everything just piles on, and, you know, he hits Cersei, and he's just like, this is too much, I don't want to be a king anymore, I'm gonna go hunting for a day. And maybe he was thinking about it before, but, like, this little encounter here with Ned, pretty much sets in stone. He's just like, no, fuck this, I'm gonna leave for a little bit. Which,
so,
you know, ends his
bringing
plot.
that up, which, I don't know where this falls anymore, but since you brought that up, do you think Cersei used Ned's comments about the prostitute's daughter and kind of used that as fuel to kill Robert? Do you think this hunting trip was meant to kill Robert anyways? Like, she was going to kill him at some point.
I don't know, like, where did she get the initial idea to kill Robert? Was it because Ned, like, yeah, maybe because all this, Ned says he was looking for your daughter. She looks just like...
and he knew John.
He said she looked just like Maya, so maybe Cersei was... I mean, I don't want to say Cersei was being really smart here, and she had that much foresight to determine that Ned was doing this. Maybe someone was feeding her information like, hey, Ned's actually looking into all these bastards, the same thing that... Well, no, because she wasn't in on John Aaron's thing, so she wouldn't have known that that's what John was looking at. Unless she was. I don't remember. That's in Feast ahead of now. I don't remember if she remembers back to John looking for the bastards and then Ned looking for the bastards too.
I feel like she was aware that John was looking into the bastards. I could be completely remembering it wrong.
This also might come out in her confession to Ned in a couple chapters, but I don't remember. I haven't read that far yet.
I don't know if I'll read that chapter or not, honestly.
That seems like that'd be a good one for us to do an episode on.
Yeah, there's a lot in that chapter, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't know.
Especially the whole, what should someone have done differently? Looking at you, Ned.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
I wrote down, Ned realizes he can't rely on Robert. Oh yeah, because this is talking about affecting the other plots. So maybe not the other plots, but for Ned's, like, future plot and everything that revolves around that. Like, maybe this is where he decides that, he's gonna change the will and, like, do all this other stuff because he realizes Robert's out of control and, like, he's not gonna be able to rely on him. He already did a little bit when he told Cat to get the Northern armies ready and all that stuff. But I think this encounter kind of solidifies it a little bit more. Like, each day that it happens, each encounter that he has, brings him closer to realizing that Robert's just not going to do anything. I don't know if Ned ever thought about going to, like, publicly and openly challenging Robert. I don't think he'd ever do that.
I don't think he would either, and really get him.
But,
it wouldn't do anything.
If Ned, like, publicly called out the Lannisters, and then Tywin, you know, does this thing where he goes to war like he does, and if Robert was still alive, this is off topic too. Robert would probably be the guy to be like, everybody stop fighting. For as much as he claims to be a warrior and stuff, he seems to be awfully, I don't want to say non-confrontational, but he's trying to avoid all-out war, like between the Starks and Lannisters. Like, he could easily fuel this stuff up. Like, like, Ned and Jaime just fought in the streets, and Stark men killed Lannister men, and back, and, you know, vice versa. Like, Robert boasting about how he was, like, this great big warrior could immediately be like, we're gonna, you know, the Lannisters are wrong, we're gonna go fight the Lannisters now. Like, I don't know, it just seems like something like that he would do. Or pick a side, or, like, you know, since, you know, he's relying on Tywin's money, like...
Yeah, that's the thing, is he's so reliant on the Lannisters for everything, and for Jaime killing Aerys and everything else, like, I just don't see him,
so Robert's actually making a good king decision, a good leadership decision here, trying to de-escalate situations. He's not being this mindless, drunken idiot, just a warmonger or anything. He's actually trying to take control of the situation, de-escalate everything. He's actually being a good king here. I didn't even think of that. Because really, he could pick either side and just, like, begin war, pick up his hammer again, and then just go live that life that you used to love. But he's just like, guys, calm down. No, shake it out, hug it out, bring Jaime back here, shake hands.
Maybe if he was in better shape, he would do that, but he's not exactly in the best shape to go out to war.
Oh, he was ready to go with the turning. Was that, is that in the books too, or is that only in the show?
That doesn't mean he could.
But he didn't care if he could. He was gonna. Like, he takes on the boar one-on-one in, like, you know, the next couple chapters. But I'm just saying, like, if he's, like, so set on being, like, because he even says it in this thing, like, no one can stand before me,
yes.
All this stuff. So
we are one enemy.
He still thinks he's, like, this badass warrior, and that's what I'm saying, like, he can, like, in this chapter, he could have, like, picked a side, and then gone out and caused a war, or, like, sanctioned a war, I guess, or sanctioned some kind of physical conflict against people. But he was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. So that's a good leadership decision on Robert.
Are we campaigning for Robert right now?
I don't know. I just stumbled upon it. You know, no one talks about that. Everyone talks about Robert being a drunken oaf. You know, he actually made a really good decision here to keep peace.
You should post about it.
No.
Okay.
Do you have anything else for affecting other plots?
In terms of the story itself, no. In terms of our perspective, yes, because this is where we get, you know, the Tower of Joy's dream, and really it's the basis of the entire saga as we know it as fans.
Let's save Tower of Joy stuff to series and all that part, because I mean, really, this is all just a dream Ned has, and for some reason the fandom's taking this fever dream as like, oh, this is what actually happened. It was a fucking
I have
dream.
that written for, like, every single point. I have fever, like, in capital letters, and at the very end, it's just like, Ned is unreliable.
Fever dream is canon. Anyway, so we skipped number 4, so let's jump back to that. Knowing how the future plays out, what should the characters have done differently to avoid the future that we do see? So an option, maybe not the best option, but Ned could have spilled all the information that he knew right then. Spoiler alert, I haven't been reading with the rest of the group, so I don't know how much he's actually figured out by now. But he was onto a bit, like, and he's like, Robert, damn your eyes, I was looking at your bastard daughter, or whatever. It's like, he could have just, like, went out there and been like, I'm checking all this shit out, dude, and so, like, I don't know, like, how far along he is in his investigation. Ned's, like, the worst person to be looking into this shit. And if Peter knows that, that's kind of like a little troll tactic that Peter Baelish is doing. I think it's kind of funny. But, yeah, no, like, Ned could have just, like, spilled everything that he knew right there, but instead he just, like, I wasn't at a brothel, dude, I was looking at your kid.
Yeah.
And then also
I'll be completely honest, I have no idea how far he is either.
But he knows a little bit. Like, he's looking at bastards, and he's like, none of these look like Joffrey. That's weird. Huh.
Yeah.
A little slow on the uptake there, but I don't know. I guess, like, whenever, you know, at this point, like, if you're watching the show and you haven't read the books, you're just like, oh no, I never would have thought that Joffrey wasn't like his kid. And if you're reading the books at this point without watching the show, you're like, oh, well, that's weird. His mom had gold hair, but his dad didn't. So I don't know. Like I watched the show before I read this, so I kind of knew that Joffrey wasn't Robert's kid. And I watched the show so long ago, I don't remember what my thoughts were. But
I don't.
Also, if he could have called out the quote evidence he had against Tyrion, whenever Cersei speaks up and Robert's like, yeah, fucking release Tyrion, man. Like, you got nothing. Like, he could have just been like, no, dagger thing, and Peter said this, and Varys was in there too, and like everybody thinks this could be a thing. Everybody doesn't say nothing. He's just like, Cat, I told Cat to do it, and Robert's like, well, tell her to release him, and like Ned's like, okay. So.
I just don't understand. Like, Cersei had already left, and Robert's telling him we'll talk another day or whatever. The idiot he's an idiot. Idiot is an idiot. There.
He can't. We already established he's a good leader in this chapter. He can't be an idiot and a good leader. So we'll throw that out.
No. Not Robert. I'm talking about Ned.
Oh,
Ned is an idiot.
Good. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, like he should have. If Cersei's out the door at this point, let's see. No, he ain't slapped her yet. Yeah, Jaime and Tyrion, and then he slaps her. And he's just like, damn it, Ned won, or Rhaegar won, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And, like, Ned doesn't say anything. He's just like, we gotta talk, dude. And he's just like...
And that's it.
Yeah, like, we'll talk. Robert's like, I don't want to talk. Just ignore him, man, because you got some shit to say. So, I mean, we all know Tyrion's innocent, but at this point, it's kind of just like, I don't know. Like, in story... Everybody has perfect reason to believe that Tyrion, like, actually did this thing. Except Tyrion's just like, nope, I didn't do it. And we're just like, no, okay, that's weird. But outside looking in, it really does look like Tyrion did it, so Ned should have just been like, everybody thinks he does it, man. I think we mentioned in our other podcast that Cat probably shouldn't have taken Tyrion to hostile territory. Like... You're going to go on trial for killing Jon Arryn. We're going to try you in Jon Arryn's house. Like, that's a stacked jury, So, it definitely would have been better if Tyrion would have been brought to a neutral area. But, at this point, like, what's a neutral area? So anyway,
I posted that chapter, I think, like, it was before we talked, or it was around the time we talked, and I can't remember if it was you or if it was someone that commented in the group saying that once Kat saw how batshit Lysa was, Kat should have taken him down to, like, the gates of the moon, or one of the other cats he had. That was you?
Yeah. And then we established you can't try him at the...
Yeah. Okay.
You can only really try him at, like, a region seat. Like, you can't just take him to fucking Harrenhal and have a trial there. I mean, I guess you could. I don't know. That's what I was saying. The judicial system in Westeros is a little unclear.
Okay.
So not a whole lot of what should they have done differently to avoid the future. It's Ned should have spoken up and not stay quiet. If you see something,
that's
say
the exact
something.
same thing I have. That's the same thing I have written down.
All right, so let's jump to best lines. So I wrote Tower of Joy dream lines, but we'll get back to that later when we talk about that all the way through, because everything the Kingsguard say is actually kind of badass. But in regards to the conversation in the room, I had the thing that Cersei said at page 429. So we all know Cersei is like the evil queen, right? But she actually like comes from like this little paragraph she says is a pretty good little speech she gives as far as like telling Robert like what he should do. She says, Jaime and Tyrion are your own brothers by the laws of marriage and the bonds we share. The Starks have driven off one, seized the other. Ned dishonors you with every breath he takes, and you stand there meekly, asking if his leg pains him and if he would like some wine. So yeah, so Ned just had a fight with the king's brother-in-law, and then Catelyn took his other brother-in-law captive. I say it was under perfectly legal circumstances. One can argue it was not. legal, and that's perfectly fine. Like, you can make the argument for either. So, I'm getting a lot of noise over there.
From me?
Yeah, a lot of static.
I'm sitting in my room. I have not moved.
It's died down. But anyway, so yeah, like, Cersei's telling Robert, like, the king's brothers-in-law have been in some way, shape, or form assaulted by Starks, and he does nothing but try to offer them wine and ask if they're feeling okay. So it's like, yeah, like, from if you take the relationship between Ned and Robert out, which it shouldn't stand for much, Ned's the Hand, sure, but the Hand's family is now capturing the king's brothers-in-law and attacking them and stuff like that. That doesn't look good on the Hand, you know? And Cersei kind of has a point, like, the king should do something about this stuff. One guy's a Kingsguard, the other is, I guess, technically the heir to Castle Rock. In theory, Tywin would never let that happen, but, I mean, who else is the heir to Castle Rock? So, a Kingsguard and the heir to the Warden of the West have both been assaulted by Starks, and the king does nothing but offer them wine. So, like, Cersei has a really good point there, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a solid point, Cersei. Point. So,
I just think it's weird because she doesn't even care about Tyrion. Like, she could have just made that entire thing about Jaime, but Jaime cares about Tyrion, and Jaime attacked because of Tyrion, so...
Well, Tyrion's
fine,
a Lannister.
Whatever, but...
So she's gonna stack the deck against everybody who's not a Lannister.
She would be perfectly fine if Cat killed him.
Sure, and
yes,
so would Tywin. But
war.
Tywin, like, straight out went to war against the Riverlands because they took Tyrion, and they got him back, and he's just like, well, you're a Lannister, so you can't have people shitting on Lannisters.
Well, it's not because they actually care.
Well, no. They don't care about him as a person. They care about a Lannister person was taken. Like, the Lannister name was this, and this.
Fight against their name, whatever.
I mean, that's their reason.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just thought that was a good point for Cersei right there. We all know that, like, the Starks are the good guys, and I don't know if at this point in the book George R. Martin is just like, oh yeah, great characters and stuff, but... I don't know.
We look at it so differently because you marked that passage. I marked her line like after that, where she calls Robert a little bitch, where she's just basically saying, "What a jape the gods have made of us too. By all rights, you ought to be in skirts and me in mail." And then he slaps her. But that's what I thought was her best line.
It's her internalized misogyny coming out.
Shh.
She wants to be a man. So I guess that part's been fairly consistent about the whole way through. But no, if we roll this into, if you have nothing else for quotes, standout appearances, I have Cersei as a standout character in this. So between
all of my stuff is about the Kingsguard. But yeah, Cersei did do well in this chapter.
The Kingsguard's not real, it's a dream. Cersei's real.
Okay. Because all of these people are real. We'll just go there.
I mean, are you talking about, like, fictional characters in a book, or a dream about fictional characters in a book?
Fictional characters in a book that we are taking time out of our actual lives to do this.
Oh, shit, yeah, you're right, the game started. Cut the podcast. We're done.
We're almost done.
So anyway, so I have Cersei really, like, showing up and, you know, talking out to the king and everything like that, and standing her ground. She gets slapped, and the whole, I'll wear this as a badge of honor, and then Robert says, wear it in silence or I'll arm you again. It's a bad thing to laugh at, but it is kind of funny. It's just like, ooh, good one-liner there, Rob. Good wit. Nice. Burn.
There's nothing wrong with laughing at it. They're fake people. You can't have your feelings hurt over fake people.
You're right, it was funny.
We're not condoning that.
I thought there was some interesting Arya foreshadowing over here.
With what?
So, let me find the spot. So Ned asked about his daughters, and I think it's, was it Alan? Who's Alan? Alan Poole?
Oh yeah. No, Vay and Poole, and Alan took over for Jory as
That's
head of
right. Does Alan have a last name?
household. I don't think so.
He's just Alan.
Yeah.
All right, so Alan, no last name. He tells Ned. Where's it at? Oh,
Tell
Arya.
you because I can see it.
He says, sends a praise quietly, but Arya, and then he hesitates. She has not said a word since they brought you back. She is a fierce little thing. I have never seen such anger in a girl. So knowing how Arya's whole thing comes out to be a plot line of hate and anger and vengeance, trying to become an assassin to kill people, I thought that was a little bit of foreshadowing there.
Yeah, I didn't pick that up, but that's a good point.
Yeah. Alright, so Tower of Joy stuff, your favorite part.
Not really, but I feel like it's more important, but yes. It's literally like a page and a half. It's not even a page and a half.
Yeah, it's like 4 paragraphs. Well, they're not really paragraphs, I guess, because, quotes and all that stuff.
Every little, yeah.
All the one-liners they do are pretty fucking badass. What I call Artie, Jerry, and Ozzy.
What? I can't believe you called them dude bros.
Such stand-up dude bros. I mean, but they're like unyielding, talking about Ares. Like, Ares should still sit the Iron Throne. It's like, you guys are supposed to be good guys, and because fast forward to Feast where Jaime's just like they're listening to Rayla get raped by Ares, and was it Ozzy that's just like, no, not our job, or was it Jerry?
I think it's Gerald.
It's Arthur. Everybody knows Arthur Dane, Gerald Hightower, Oswald Went, Artie, Jerry, and Ozzy.
It's Hightower. It's Hightower.
Yeah. So the Lord Commander is just like, not our job to stop the king from raping his wife. It's like, really?
Yes.
That's okay. Y'all are okay with this? But anyway, and then I posted that comment talking about like, there's, it's allegedly assumed that Oswell had some kind of hand in the Rhaegar coup, and everybody talks about how Rhaegar and Arthur Dayne were such great buddies. I don't know, like, they're out here and they're talking about how Ares should still sit the Iron Throne, and Jaime's an asshole for killing Ares, and all this other stuff. So it's just like, I guess you guys were not good at all. But, I don't know, Oathbound and all this other crap.
Yeah, what is Jaime's line? What is it?
So many vows.
Or take an oath for another? Something?
Yep, so many vows.
I don't know.
You keep one, you break the other. Which one is more important than the next? So Tower of Joy stuff. So the Tower of Joy is actually in Winterfell.
You want to go there?
there are theories.
I have some things written down. If you want to go there, we
there
can go
are theories that say the Tower of Joy was actually, that Lyanna and Rhaegar were actually in Winterfell. I don't know if they mean like the Tower of Joy was actually in Winterfell or not, but I'm of the mind that they're all dead. Ned remembers them as all being dead.
So then you need to take it a step back and explain that there's a theory that they're all alive.
And because what was it? Oswell Went is Qhorin Halfhand, Tormund is Gerald Hightower, and Arthur Dayne is Mance Rayder.
Yes, that is yes, 100% canon that's happening.
The thing that trips me out is a lot of people think, well, because they'll make they have reasons, quotation marks reasons, for believing Gerald Hightower is Tormund and Mance is Arthur Dayne. And then, like, to wedge Oswell Went in there, they're like, well, Qhorin Halfhand sharpened his sword with a whetstone. And in the dream Ned had, Oswell Went was using a whetstone. So they're the same person.
Apparently nobody else knows how to do that.
Yeah, I guess not. And I was thinking about this, like, the Wents could have, like, made a killing if they were, like, in the market for selling whetstones. It's like, don't use just a normal whetstone. Use a whetstone.
Whetstone? That's terrible.
Yeah, I know. That's a really bad joke. I'm gonna edit that out. Except I don't know how to edit this stuff yet.
I was gonna say, you don't know how to do that.
Yeah, so you guys get to hear a bad joke there. So anyway, a lot of cool one-liners. You guys have all heard them all. Our knees do not bend easily. woe to the usurper if we had been. Yeah, far away or Ares would get to the Iron Throne, and our false brother would burn in 7 hells. Now he tends, and all the bad Scottish accents from young Ned in the TV show.
Yeah. Just not do that.
Oh yeah, something I always thought about this too. So like, Robert can't remember what Lyanna looks like, right? And then Ned over here is like, he's naming all of his best buds from war. Martin Castle, Ethan Glover, Mark Weiswell, all that. And he can't remember their damn faces either. Like, the years leech a man's memories, even those he vowed to never forget. So, yeah, Ned can't even remember his war buddies' faces. Just like Robert can't remember Lyanna's face. Same thing. Doesn't mean they didn't like him.
Well, that means Ned didn't love his companions,
Yeah.
or whatever
Or-
people say about Robert.
Or maybe just it's been a long fucking time and they don't remember.
Or they're still alive, can't remember.
So are you of the mind that they're all dead? Every single last one of them is dead?
Yeah. Yes.
And that what's his name? Howland Reed stabbed Arcadane in the back.
Your little frog boy friend, I'm not sold on.
He's
I really
not my-
hope not.
He's not my friend. I'm not real big on the Reed. I mean, Mira and Jojen are fine, but like I don't know. I don't think Howland probably like knows stuff, but I mean like that dude's got to have like some serious PTSD, right? This tiny
I
little
feel
dude,
like
he gets his ass kicked at Harrenhal, and then he makes it all through the war, and then he has to kill the Sword in the morning, and then he goes hide in a swamp for the rest of his life, and then Robert dies, and Ned dies, and all their friends die, and then his kids die, and I don't know, that dude's got to be like some
His kids aren't dead yet.
crotchety old man. Jojen's dead? Well, isn't he? Oh, it's, yeah, cliffhanger.
It's not confirmed, but
No,
Mira's not dead.
in the show.
But regardless, the show is stupid. How would Howland know if Jojen was dead? Like, is Howland a Greenseer? Is Bran or Bloodraven gonna send him a dream that Howland's dead, we turn him into werewolf paste?
Well, not in so many words. I mean, come on.
Well, because he's... Okay.
I don't know.
Don't give it as a reason for his PTSD.
Because, like, he hasn't, like, left his swamp since he came back from the war, right?
We don't know that. We don't know anything about him.
Did he ever visit Winterfell afterwards?
Not that we know of.
Well, does Ned recall, like, oh, well, I last saw Howland Reed at the Greyjoy Rebellion, or I saw him when he came to Winterfell that one time?
No, if I'm remembering correctly, the only time we ever hear about him is Ned talking about Howland saving his life, and then obviously he's in these fever dreams, and then when Jojen and Mira are telling Bran the story about the tourney, those are the only times we ever hear about him.
Well, in my own headcanon, I think he's some, like, crotchety old man eating gators and living in a swamp and kind of just a little bit out of his mind.
He's not the High Sparrow then? You don't think he's the High Sparrow?
Oh, shit, I forgot about that. Yeah, he's definitely the High Sparrow.
Can you hear my dogs barking?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Okay.
Lillian has dogs, by the way. She has 2 of them. You have 2?
Yes.
That was a guess.
Yes.
I don't know if it was some kind of like Photoshop like mirror thing you had of your dogs on Facebook.
They're brother and sister, yes.
What else do you have on the Tower of Joy?
Um,
Oh yeah, how did Ned pull down a tower? Or is that his dream, just being a crazy dream?
that entire thing doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. You know, so did he pull down the tower? Then there's theories of Rhaegar was mad like Ares, so there's wildfire at the tower, and that's how Ned pulled it down.
Yeah,
I remember reading that.
I've heard that same thing.
And so something I posted earlier in the group, I still don't understand, you know, if that's how everything went down, and he pulled the tower down, why did he leave everybody's bodies there? But he returned Dawn and returns a horse. I get Dawn.
To
That's
be
respect.
fair, it's easier to ride a horse and carry a sword than ride a horse and carry a sword.
Throwing some dead bodies on a horse. Can't you just like strap them to the horse?
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, how many horses did he have? At least 7, I guess.
I don't know.
Right? Ned's not a smart guy. Should we believe he was any smarter when he was 17 than when he's, what, 35, 36 now? But no, like, he brought Lyanna back, so he's just like, oh, so, no more room.
It's the whole, what is the Titanic thing, the door conundrum? Jack and Rose couldn't fit on the door.
Yeah.
So not everybody could fit on the horse, only Lyanna.
Only Lyanna could fit on all 7 horses. Yeah, so I don't know, like, it's really weird. Because that's like a big point for why, you know, Lady Dustin hates the Starks. Because that was just like, I brought his horse back. We're cool, right?
Do you think he did that on purpose, like, as a dick move, since she was already, like, blown off by Robert and Rickard? Or not Robert, Brandon and Rickard?
I don't think he would care. Like, oh, you used to like my brother, and then he got told to marry somebody else. I'm gonna be a dick and not bring your husband's body back. Like, after I promised that he would come back. Like,
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't,
yeah.
Ned's not that, he's an idiot, he ain't an asshole.
I don't know, maybe there's bad blood there somewhere. I hate you, I'm gonna take everything from you.
Hold on, I retract that statement. Ned's an asshole to Jaime for sure, but I don't think he's an asshole to just everybody.
Okay, but if you look at it from the point where we are now, Ned is right being an asshole. 3 books later, no. It's not right. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
I used to...
We don't know that Jaime is a decent
okay,
person.
yeah. We don't know that he's being an asshole. And then, like, afterwards, and then after a lot of time later, it's like, oh,
yeah.
You're a stupid asshole. So what do you think about where it says, a storm of rose petals blew across a blood-streaked sky as blue as the eyes of death? Blue as the eyes of death is reference to the others, or, well, could be seen as reference to the others. I have no idea what the others would have to do with this. But, I mean, blue eyes of death. Very clearly, you know, others, White Walkers, Whites.
What color are John's eyes?
Are they one of those things that change color? I don't know.
Are they gray? I think they're gray. I don't know.
I couldn't tell you.
That was the only thing I was thinking of. But yes, so it's probably in reference to the others. And what I really don't like about that is because then it's kind of putting into your mind, correlating, you know, John is destined to fight the others. And because I'm watching Star Wars, all of that is happening in my head right now.
No one in Star Wars is named John.
You know what I mean. The Skywalker. Skywalker, what is it? Aragorn? I'm going to say his name wrong. Totally different franchise, but you know what I mean. That type of character.
We're mixing 3 of them. Like, Aragorn is a thing, too, you know. There's Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, and then Aragorn is like this whole other thing.
What is that?
Aragorn's a different book series about dragon riders and stuff.
Okay, I wasn't talking about that.
I've read this book. Anyway.
I think that it sets it up for... Do we even know that there's a baby yet? Or is it just implied that she died in giving birth?
I told you, man.
Bed of blood.
I haven't been reading the books.
I haven't either, but don't tell certain people that.
Only 3 people are going to hear this. It'll be okay. So when it says a storm of rose petals blew across the blood-streaked sky, is there any kind of symbolism in that? I mean, because most of the time when we think about Lyanna and roses, we think blue roses, right? But it doesn't specify blue.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, is it supposed to be implied blue to contrast the blood-streaked sky? I know we get waves of blood later on with, like, Euron and shit. So Euron's not even a character here, but, like, blood-streaked sky, is that, like, a reference to the comet? Like, or could that be, like, a reference to the comet or something? I don't know. I'm not good at these symbolism things. These are for smarter people like Brett and shit to look at and talk about.
Keep going.
I don't think there's a whole lot left.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It was just Lyanna and your dude bros, and the fact that Ned is just terrible and unreliable, and we shouldn't really believe anything we get from him.
Yeah. Remember, guys, this is a dream. Crazy shit happens in dreams. I mean, in this book, I guess, a lot of it comes true, but, you know. Oh, no.
Well...
The Jackets scored. It's 1-1. Sorry, that's a hockey update for you guys.
We're, like, at the end. Just wait, like, 1 minute and we'll be done.
So Oswald Went's Kingsguard helmet has a bat on his helmet. Pretty cool.
Do you want me to go off on a tangent?
Go ahead. We're at 45 minutes.
Okay, then no, I won't.
What's the tangent? I'll cut it off the record.
It was nothing stupid. It was something stupid because you brought up that, and I was going to bring up the fact that Gerald Hightower is called the White Bull, and Gendry has the bull's helmet.
Oh, so
Oh my god.
Gendry is the child of Robert and Gerald Hightower. Is that what you're getting at? I caught on. I'm good at this.
I'm not allowed to say these things, so I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, so... Alright, so yeah, so maybe there's some kind of correlation between Hightower and Gendry. Why do we think Gendry's a Robert bastard?
Why do we think he's a Robert bastard?
Yeah.
Because he looks just like Robert?
Yeah, but, I mean, like, you're bringing up, he wears the bull horns, like, I don't know, maybe that's just a different thing. I don't know.
I'm just saying shit to say shit, I don't mean any of it.
Maybe Gerald Hightower and Cersei had a kid.
Well, then that goes back to how old is Gendry when we were trying to figure that out at the very beginning.
No, well,
that would
yeah,
help with this.
Cersei would be like 16 and she wouldn't have been at quarter. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I'm not good at making theories. I'm just good at like shooting down other people's theories and then just like saying, oh yeah, that sounds good, I agree with it. So anyway, so that's the pod.
We tried.
This is like our second episode, our first recording. Let us know how bad we are and how we should never ever fucking do this again. That's all I got. Say bye, Lillian.
Bye.